All right, hopefully this is our last section. It should be. We are going to talk about adulthood and what goes on in adulthood. I know a little bit about this, I think. My wife would disagree with me, but that's a story for another day. So let's move on. Adulthood, okay, one of the big things that happens at this point for women is menopause. The time of natural cessation of menstruation. They stop menstruating, in other words, releasing the egg. Also refers to the biological changes a woman experiences as her ability to reproduce declines. The hormones in her body change. People used to, or at least men would try to, male doctors proposed this as more women became doctors and more research was done, does not create psychological problems for women. For a long time, people thought women were kind of dull, depressed, and everything. And sure, actually, a lot of them actually feel a sense of relief, a sense of freedom. So a woman's attitude can greatly influence the emotional impact of menopause. It depends on her outlook. By and large, most do not report feeling depressed. There is no equivalent for men, okay? Men have a gradual reduction in sperm count and testosterone levels over the course of their lifetime. But of course, it's not unheard of for men to 65, sometimes 70-year-old men marry very young women, and they can still reproduce. They'll have kids. I guess when the kid is 10, the dad will be 80, and that'll be really weird. But anyway, that's how it works for men. The brain's neural processing is slowed by aging. Physical exercise does enhance muscles, bones, and energy. So always staying physically active is important. I'm a big believer in that, those of you that know me. I had grandparents who unfortunately just stopped. That World War II generation that just stagnated and came to a complete stop.
Is this the video?
I was just interrupted, so I had to pause it. So basically, I was saying is my grandparents, I unfortunately had witnessed them decay physically because they just stopped being active, and I would never want that to happen to anybody, so I try not to have that happen. All right, so physical activity also stimulates brain cell development through increased oxygen and nutrient flow. So you need lots of oxygen to go to your brain all the time, and the better shape you're in, the more likely you are to have a higher functioning brain. The idea is use it or lose it advice. You must work your body as well as your brain, okay? Dementia is a continuous mental erosion caused by tumors, strokes, or alcoholism. That can happen, usually happens later in life, and it's a sad thing. I did have a grandparent who suffered from dementia. And it's very frustrating to watch them decay and then forget who you are and forget who they are and get excited over the same picture in a book every day for the last 2 or 3 years of their life, like they've never seen it before. So it is something. Sometimes there's nothing that can be done about it. It just happens, and then there's other times where you do begin to really start to look at lifestyle choices, and you see that perhaps it might have been prevented. Alzheimer's disease is another famous disease where your brain breaks down. Progressive and irreversible brain disorder, characterized by a gradual deterioration of memory, reasoning, language, and finally physical functioning. Okay, it's a sad disease, and there's a lot of research being done on Alzheimer's as well, because it doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason as to who it afflicts. In this case, it's just this horrible way to end your life. I think most people would like to think that, we all get older, but you don't necessarily want to think that you're just going to get this, you've been chosen for this random disease that's just going to make the end of your life not a sort of a peaceful, enjoyable moment of life, but sort of your body just shuts down in a very ugly way. So keep that in mind. I've got a bunch of charts now to show you some of the things that go wrong, or reduce in functioning. Here you have a chart just showing that yes, indeed, we lose our vision, okay? Starts to decrease as we roughly hit 40-ish, 30-ish, and it all depends. Some people are wearing glasses when they're little kids, but you will have a very, very marked decrease. A huge cliff seems to be hit when you hit your 70s, kind of like your eyes have just been used to the max that can be used, okay? So I'm not saying you're going blind, I just think you need a lot of help. Smells, we tend to reduce smells. Don't have much more of an explanation here. Again, it seems to be 70s when that starts to happen, and you stop smelling things that you used to smell very well. And remember, that's connected to your taste, so your taste buds are not as effective either. So you need stronger tastes in the food you eat to taste it. So something to keep in mind. Percent correct when identifying spoken words. And your hearing. Your hearing starts to go down, of course. It says it really starts to take a drop here somewhere between your 40-ish years, which is right now where I am. I haven't noticed a marked difference in my life, but maybe other people are noticing something and not telling me. Slowing reactions contribute to increased accident risks among those 75 and older. So, of course, their ability to move quickly out of the way of something coming at them, or just not having the coordination to go up and down stairs. Of course, driving accidents, as they're saying here, it gets to be hard to drive and react quick enough on the road when you get older. But of course, it's that American right. We just will not take that right away from people. It's something that we all grew up with wanting, and once you have it, you have no desire to have it taken away from you. And then, of course, the incidence of dementia by age increase as you are able to get older, from your 60s to your 90s. And of course, it wouldn't surprise people that you have a very high percentage, working its way towards half of people who are in their 90s, late 90s, who are working towards a dementia state. This is recall, being able to recall names. It's easier for younger adults. It has to do with the type of intelligence that you deal with. One type gets worse as you get older, and one gets better as you get older. And sort of being able to quickly remember nonsense things that are irrelevant to you, is not very good when you get older. And here's another example of that. This is probably better. This is a cross-sectional study, longitudinal study, which is a way of studying people over their lifetime, which I've already addressed that earlier. I'm trying to find, it's the next slide. Your reasoning ability says, here it depends on what type of study you do. Cross-sectional method says it goes down, but a longitudinal method says it's not so bad. So that's why you have the blue and red types of lines there. So it depends on how you do your study. Crystallized intelligence. One's accumulated knowledge and verbal skills tends to increase with age. So my crystallized intelligence is going to be greater than yours. I've had more time to be exposed to things over my life, that meaningful things that I'll remember. That's why it seems like professors are so all-knowing. It's not really many times anything that fantastic. We just have more life experience than younger people. Fluid intelligence, however, tends to dip as you get older, and these are things like to reason speedily and abstractly. Again, I think I read some report that they say that most mathematicians, physicists, things like that, they do the predominant chunk of their work is in their 30s and 40s. I don't say a predominant amount, but their they've done the highest I can't get the word out of my mouth today. Sorry, it's after school. Their most impressive work tends to be done at those ages. Now, I'm not saying it's absolute. It's just an article I read, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. It's fluid intelligence. Okay. All right, we have a social clock, the culturally preferred timing of social events such as marriage, parenthood, and retirement. We all have certain ages at which we expect certain things to happen, okay? It's very flexible in modern society, much more so than in the past, which is, I guess, a good thing. Life events probably more important than chronological age. So there are certain life events, again, some people, it's not unheard of to people having children before they're married. That's a life event. So that's probably more important than the marriage itself. And then you have a whole group of people that begin to question, what's the point of marriage anyway? Is it really something that's an outdated concept? I'm not telling you one way or the other what I believe. I just am telling you that the argument does exist. More charts. Verbal intelligence scores hold steady with age, while nonverbal intelligence scores do decline. Again, the kind of thing like your ability. That's why older people are so good at doing crossword puzzles. At least my grandmother was. And but their ability to solve like a Rubik's Cube quickly, it just may not be there. Okay. Adult, early 40s, midlife crisis. They talk about this idea that you start to have emotional instability at certain ages in your life, and here you see a chart. It's kind of a misnomer. I think there's another slide coming that this midlife crisis is something that all men go through. It really isn't. It's more of a there's a point at which you begin to reevaluate your life, and depending on your, I guess you could say some level of emotional health, you may go out and buy divorce your wife and buy the red sports car, but that's not what all men are headed towards at all, by any means. It may be a changing of jobs, a reorganization of what you thought, your life was about. That's more of what really this midlife crisis is. So if anybody ever says something to you about it. All right, multinational surveys show that age differences in life satisfaction are trivial. So it really is this idea, especially by young people, that somehow they value their lives more or enjoying their lives more than older people. I probably have said it myself. Why do older people need to have sports cars? That sports cars are for young people, or fun times are for young people. Not really. Your idea of fun changes throughout your whole life, and whereas if you're 65, you may not be able to go do the surfing things or go do the physical things that you once were able to do. There's plenty of fun to be had and enjoyment of life that people espouse in later life. It's really not any one. It's not really about your age. It's more about maybe your attitude and outlook on life. Someone who's pessimistic about life at 20, it may not change all throughout their life. So, love. Marriage after the age of 20 and well-educated tend to last longer. So if you have two people who both go to college, get married in their late 20s, even their 30s today, it's not unusual. A lot of people focus on their careers in their late 20s. Their marriages last longer because you become more of who you are. Okay. For some reason, obviously, when you're in your teens, not a good idea to get married. You have too many changes going on, and you have two people that may not really be a match. That they may match at 16, but at 22, they're not the same people anymore. The same is even true at early age, 20, 22. You still have more changing that goes on in your early 20s before you really start to become who you're going to be for a long, long time. And so the longer you wait, the more likely, remember these are statistics, the more likely you are to have your marriage last longer. So, my wife's parents met in high school. They did not get married in high school. They met in high school and dated in high school. But they waited until after college to get married. So there you go. You have those oddballs as well. Today, we are twice as likely to divorce as in 1960. Why? A lot of reasons. I think people are much more, I would say the word is, they want satisfaction now, and marriage is a compromise. You're going to hear that, excuse me, I burped, hiccuped. You're going to hear it over and over again in your life. Marriage is a compromise. Marriage is a compromise. And people don't want to compromise anymore. I mean, look, the ones that I think are the most dramatically obvious are movie stars. They always seem to get married and divorced and married and divorced. What you have is two people usually that have these huge egos that are being fed all the time through their movies and their fame, and everybody fawns all over them. But and both people in their marriage might, and they often do in this case of movie stars, expect the other person to acquiesce to their desires. And if you have two people that will never do that, you don't have much of a marriage. It just doesn't work that way, okay? And believe it or not, cohabitation, living together before marriage, not good if you want to stay married, okay? There's a very strong correlation that people who cohabitate before marriage tend to not stay together after marriage, okay? Again, not causation. Successful marriages possess at least a 5-to-1 ratio of positive to negative interactions, okay? Could be anything from, good morning to I love you before you go to work. I mean, any of these things. Oh, I decided to make you dinner, or I picked you up something on the way home from work. You need to basically have roughly a 5-to-1 positive to negative ratio of interaction. So, and that's hard to do on a constant basis. And you definitely notice it when people are not having that positive interaction, because it tends to be a grind for people. And of course, you have the traditional roles versus the modern day family. It's changing. Marriage is changing. You have the roles in the past that have been man works, woman stays at home, raises the family. That is not the case anymore. Women are in the workforce as much as men. And as women go into the workforce, what we are finding is for a while, a couple decades there, when they first started, maybe the 70s and 80s, it was they have two jobs. They have to go do their job at work, and then they come home, and the husband expected them to do all the work that went on in a home. That is not how it is today, and I can tell you for a fact. I live it. My wife and I have divided up responsibilities differently around the house, that I hope I'm giving her relief. And she says little things. She hates laundry. I don't love it. I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me. So I do the laundry. Whenever she makes dinner, I clean it up. It's just something that we have always I don't know if we talked about it. I think we did talk about it when we first started dating. But it's a relief for her. She went through the whole process of making dinner, and I don't cook, and she knows I don't like cooking. And it's a relief to her to know, well, I cooked the dinner. It's over. Her job is over. I clean up. So there's a lot of these little things that go on in modern marriages today. So guys, if you want to marry a smart woman who is interested in a career and helping out the family financially, be prepared to have some different duties than your own parents have had. It just is what it is. All right, work. Does this describe you? Who you are depends on what you do, okay? Happiness is about having work that fits your interests and provides you with a sense of accomplishment. You guys have picked up by now, find something you love to do and you won't work a day in your life. And I do feel that, like right now, even though I am technically working, doing my job, I like the video camera, working with the computer, and coming up with the best way to teach you something, and then the response from you guys, oh, it was a good video, not a good video, you need to work on this. To me, it's kind of like, I just like having a reason to use this video camera that I had a reason to buy. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a reason to buy it. So it's kind of this whole fun thing for me, not really work. So I don't really feel this drudgery going to my job every day. Now, many of you would say, yeah, but you don't get paid the kind of money that, so-and-so, a doctor or a lawyer gets paid. Maybe not, but I can tell you, I tried law. I hated it. I hate everything about it. I don't care how much money they were giving me. I wanted nothing to do with it. So I don't really know, find happiness. my life works for this. So I wish you the best in trying to figure it out for yourself. And then you have death and dying. Culture will dictate how we deal with this issue, okay? Our culture does not do well with it, I don't think. We want people who are dying and or who, if you're dying, go away, we don't want to see you, okay? If you have had somebody who has died in your family and people know you're grieving, they like to give you a period of time and then they expect you to snap back. They don't count for a myriad of different things as to what may prolong a grieving moment, okay, or a grieving period. And there is no one right way to grieve. And I can tell you a lot of this because many of you know my father died when I was 20 in a helicopter crash in the military, the Army, and it was just kind of remarkable some of the things, dumb things people say to you when someone dies, you know, and it just is what it is. And I don't feel, I'm not angry at those people. Never was. It's just I didn't realize the way Americans approach death. We almost feel like we can negotiate our way out of it. If we eat right and we stay physically active and we do all the things that the experts tell us to do, it's almost like in our back of our minds we feel like death is optional, you know. We don't have to. And those of you that are dying, you know, that's your fault. And we're kind of like, we don't want to be reminded of the fact that we're all going to die, so we like to push those people away. We don't want to see them, okay? So anyway, I'm going to have the stages of grieving. You can't control how long it lasts or which stages you might enter first. And here we go. Denial. You have denial and isolation. No, this didn't happen. This didn't happen. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Okay? You feel alone. Then you get angry at the person that died. You get angry, you know, why were you in, you know, in my case, why were you in the helicopter? Why would you fly on that day? Or, you know, why did you leave us? Or you might get mad at God, some form of God, you know. Then you bargain, you plead that the person would come back and you'll be a better person. Sorry, it's my fault. I will do things better. Of course, depression is something that can kind of permeate the whole thing, where you lose your zest for life because the significant person in your life is gone, and you never saw your life going the direction it is now going without that person being in it, and you're having a tremendously difficult time seeing the point of going on. You feel depressed. And then, of course, ultimately is acceptance. It has happened, and see, at this point I am almost at 22, 23 years. It's been a long time. It's not something I think you ever really get over, but anymore, at least, I mean, as you can see here, I don't tear up anymore. I can tell you, 5 years afterwards, oh man, you can bring it up to me, I'd still tear up. But at this point, it is what it is. You know, it happened. It's something I can talk about as a factual thing, almost like a history assignment or a history topic. But I've accepted it, and I've moved on. All right, 2 more slides. When you die, what do you want to be remembered for? Okay? Who do you hope comes to your funeral? And what do you hope will be said there? These are some things to think about. I'm feeling deep today, okay? I'm getting into your head, okay? So if you live your life thinking about your funeral in that sense of what do I want to be remembered for, maybe some choices in your life will be easier to make, okay? And in conclusion, this is my personal view about life. Success and happiness is as follows. In the end, all you have are your memories, okay? You come in this world alone, and you go out of it alone, and in between, life happens. So good luck. I wish you the best. Please ask questions in class, and I'll see you next time.